Welcome to my office. I used to be a mountain bike guide and I used to lead clients from all over the world around these epic trails and landscapes of Scotland. It was a dream job. Things changed for me back in 2007 when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Let's just say that MS and mountain biking don't always get along. I can't guide anymore, but getting to these places, it's as important as ever, probably even more so. I'm a champion for the charity Overcoming MS, and just like them, I want the world to know that MS isn't necessarily a death sentence. Mountain biking's always brought me closer to the people and places that matter. In this series, I'm on a mission. I'm going to make new friends and we're going to ride and learn what it is about mountain biking that's so special to them, and hopefully come away with some insights and perspectives that can help me in my life and perhaps even help you too.
It's not hard to see why these landscapes are some of my favourites. Though it's been a while since I've ventured back up here. In my mind, these mountains can sometimes feel too big for the new me. I'm on my way to the heart of the Torridon Mountains to meet a special woman. There really isn't a better person to get reacquainted with this place than my pal, Jenny Graham. Jenny's quite an unlikely ultra-endurance athlete. A bit of a late bloomer to the world of cycling. She's a mum first and was in her late 30s before she embarked on beating the round-the-world record. I think she's the living embodiment of what can be achieved with a why-not outlook and a healthy appreciation of the building blocks that go into overcoming hard things. But her story transcends epic cycling achievements. To me, it's as relevant to meeting and beating the challenges we all face in everyday life. Everyone can learn a thing or two from Jenny. I'm looking forward to having a brew with her in one of our favourite bothies.
Andy McKenna! Graham! Good to see you!
How mad is this?
Oh my god, I know! 154, 156. Yeah, about. So that averaged about 156 miles a day, the ultimate endurance ride. So I went out to try and break the Guinness World Records and become the fastest woman to circumnavigate the world. So to do that, I had to pedal for 18,000 miles, travelled over 16 countries across 4 continents, solo and self-supported, just carried everything on my bike that I felt like I would need. And yeah, it took me 124 days and 11 hours. It wasn't pretty a lot of the time, you know. I was in a bivvy bag for about 2/3 of the world, you know, a 2-season sleeping bag, which was ridiculously underpacked for quite a lot of the world, and a roll mat that was continuously burst. So I wasn't resting that well, and I would wake up and just be like in some bush or toilet block or under a bridge. And my main motivation every day was to get up and get coffee.
Might need to pause this, Andy, but you're going to melt your jacket. Don't do that. Don't do that.
You're right, though.
Oh. I can now go for it. There we go. I'm trying to remember how many that.
Wow!
Do you like your coffee strong?
Woo! I do now.
Oh, where's my sport? You know, a lot of people looking at what you've just described, riding around the world on a bike, unsupported, would just think, that's actually verging on medically unwell, you know? Whereas you looked at that challenge and said, well, there's not enough reasons not to. Where does that come from?
It's a funny one, isn't it? It's like, there was no big sort of like moment that changed things, you know. It was just like, I look back on my journey to the start line of Round the World, and I'm like, oh, it was just little baby steps. It was like finding the outdoors, finding my way in the mountains, like quite literally, you know, just like that basics of like learning to navigate and being able to look after yourself and spending more and more time here, and then realizing that you could also take bikes here. How cool is that? And then realising you can ride them for more than 2 hours. Oh my God, 3 hours. Oh my God, 4 hours. I can go out all day on my bike. Oh, wait a minute. I can go out the next day on my bike as well. And it's just like the hours grew, the distances grew. And I guess like my curiosity and just love for it grew. You know, I wasn't a very sporty kid. I wasn't, you know, 14-year-old me was writing all her own notes to get out of PE at school. That, like, I didn't associate myself with sports. Perhaps because I hadn't been that sporty when I was younger, I was fascinated. Like, I was 38 when I went off round the world. I'd already had my son Lachlan. He was like, you know, an older teenager by that point. So I'd done quite a lot of my life, but I'd never really tested myself physically. I'd built up like my camp craft, and I knew how to look after myself at night and how to be resourceful. And so I think that skills had built up over like 15, 16 years in the outdoors. So then when it came to going around the world, it was like, yeah, that's huge. But actually, if you break it down, I've got the skill set. Like, I've got everything that I need in my toolbox. I just need to believe that I might be able to do it. That's maybe the biggest skill set of all. I always physically thought I could, and mentally I thought I had the head for it, but I struggled with the, do I fit into the round the world mould?
What does that mean? Well,
exactly, what does that mean? It meant something very different to 37-year-old me than it does to 43-year-old me. Very different. Back then I was like, oh, like, what is this adventurer mould? Am I too normal, like just like regular lassie from the Highlands of Scotland? And I didn't see the other side, the side that I see now, you know, the side that it's actually full of normal people, that is actually full of people like me, and whatever being like me is God knows. But I can see it now. But at the time, it was very intimidating.
What does Lachlan think of his mum?
Like, I had Lachlan when I was 18. I say we, like he was 18 too. But when I was 18, and you know, the two of us, there's something very special about that, like, relationship, and like, we grew up together essentially. Although I apparently was in charge quite a lot of the time, which is terrifying.
Because he's used to you being you. It's not like you bumped your head and suddenly became, you know, out there doing this.
Yeah,
and
he's had to endure me his whole life.
Yeah.
When I told him like that I was going to ride around the world, he had one of the best reactions ever, because he said, "Oh, of course you are, Mum. Like, of course you are. It just makes total sense. It's like just an extension of what you're doing." Because he saw the behind the scenes stuff, you know. He saw like the sort of dedication that you're putting into like the bike, the time, like where your head's going, what you're getting excited about, what you're missing out on because you've decided that you want to go down that path. So he was seeing all of that stuff, me crawling into bed at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night with a packet of biscuits and a cup of tea instead of going out to the pub. And he's like, right, she means business about something, whatever that is. Yeah. It's like easy to assume that you're just like extremely motivated, and it's motivation that's getting you up every day. Like, motivation runs out very quickly. When that goes, you just have to be like dedicated and disciplined, you know. And I think all the way to the start line, it was that discipline. Like, I took on training like it was my job, you know. I didn't have to decide whether I was going to get up and go training. It was like a given that I had to. It was just as important as eating and sleeping and going to work. It was like at that level. And so I just had to change my mindset. Like, training for it, thinking about it, going and doing it made me feel so alive. Just like made, you know, it was like ticking all the boxes, like in my soul. I was like, yes. But I think finding that round the world is the thing. You know, we've all got that drive and that push in us. It's just maybe our own round the worlds haven't become clear. Like, what is it that motivates you that much?
Every epic thing for me historically had to be 10, 12 hours or a multi-day and that's fun, but it's not the only way to enjoy and appreciate. And I guess I've been forced to kind of recalibrate in some ways, but I don't resent that because I still get to do this and be here.
I find that really interesting about you, actually, and the way that you tell your story, and you talk about MS being a gift because it has made you change what you find beautiful, what you find exhilarating. Like, you've just had to really grow from it.
I guess it's enabled me to reflect on, you know, the bits that I can still do and I still enjoy, because I can actually still get here in different ways. I maybe wouldn't go up that trail there. You know, I wouldn't envy you having to carry me off that mountain. So I maybe need to be a little bit more selective. But well, I'd like to think that I'm going to be riding my e-bike for the next 20 years here.
You know, it's so easy for me to sit here now with literally hundreds of thousands of miles on my legs and nights under the stars and traveling alone and just like to reel off all the possibilities. But it wasn't that long ago that I was hugely intimidated about, you know, my first night out alone in a tent in the hills, or like even my first like mountain biking trip away without my pals as a support. I didn't just wake up and ride around the world. You know, that was like 15, 16 years of tiny little incremental steps to get to the point that riding around the world didn't just seem possible, but it seemed like the obvious choice. It seemed like the obvious option because that's what I was doing anyway. That's magic if you can find that point. Wow, I don't know where to start. As joyous as it was to share that with you, there were definitely points that were like, God, you know, Andy's told me what it's like to live with MS. I've seen glimpses of it, but like up there on the bike, it like there was no hiding. There's no hiding from it. Like your leg would go or your arm would go. Or...
Yeah, I'm so glad to have come back here. It's a part of the world that I have a real fondness for, and I used to guide and work here all the time, and more recently I look at it and feel intimidated, and I'll maybe just stay out of those mountains and glens. You know, I'll just look at them like a tourist. And today was full-on immersion therapy, and I've barely lost any skin. You know, there's no permanent damage done. Maybe just to my soul. I think I might have left some of my soul on the Annette descent, along with a few other organs that might have come out of my backside.
Well, what a place for them to be left. Of all the places to leave them, Andy, you've chosen well. You've chosen well.
I'm very grateful for you coming here and spending some time with me.
I'm grateful for, yeah, I'm grateful for it too.
There.